All right, I'm Paige, I'm an addict. And I was asked to pick a reading from the book, but let's be real, even if I wasn't asked, I'd probably be doing that anyways. So where I'm going to dive into the book is the very bottom paragraph of page 82. So if you have your book to hand, grab it. If not, don't worry about it. I'll be doing all the reading. It says the alcoholic, and for our purposes, the alcoholic or the addict is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken. Sweet relationships are dead. Affections have been uprooted. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have left the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. He's like the farmer who comes up out of the cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fit the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partially responsible. Oh, man. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. And so to share my experience, strength, and hope as it pertains to this reading, and I'll probably bounce around a little bit. That's the thing that I do. What I came to realize is that I was the tornado. I was the tornado that was roaring through the lives of others, but I could not see it until I got here. I could not see the destruction and the pain that I was causing. You see, if you are an addict like I'm an addict, what happens to me is I take a hit, I take a hoot, I take a drink, I pop a pill, I take any mind-altering substance. And there are two things that happen to me. Now, the first thing that happens to me, man, it's really happening for me. Because I take that hit, I take that hoot, I take that drink, and I experience, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like I am okay. My skin, it feels comfortable for the first time. I feel comfortably numb. I feel okay. It's like, man, I take a hoot of crack and I get a solution for life, which if you're wondering, that is not how most people respond to crack cocaine. That's the answer for everything that I was looking for. But that's what happens to me. I take that hoot, I take that drink, I take that drug, and I experience relief. I experience release, and that happens to me, or that happens for me. And then there is something that happens to me. See, I take that drink, I take that drug, I get that effect, if even only for a moment. Because if you're like me, you know what it is like near the end of our drinking, the end of our using. Man, that glimpse of relief, it is just a hint. Man, I am chasing the first experience that I ever had. And they call us emotionally immature, chasing an experience we had in our early teens or our early, 20s, right? Chasing that. Rude, calling us out. But you see, I get that effect. It's like a switch that goes off in the back of my head, and it tells me more. And the more that I drink and use, the more that I need to drink and use. See, I take that first one and it demands a second. And that second insists on 4. And the 4th will not relent until I've had 8. And the 8th is just screaming at me until I have 16, and so on and so forth. You see, once I start, I cannot stop. Once I start, I don't know what's going to happen. Once I start, I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that more often than not, that thing inside of me, it's going to get me. And it's going to take me. And I'm going to do things I don't want to do. I'm going to cross lines I don't want to cross. I'm going to break trust I didn't want to break. I'm going to lose things that meant absolutely everything to me. And actually, let's have a look at what it means to be this tornado. Let's pop over to page 21. If you have your book to hand, don't worry about it if you don't. Page 21. And we're talking about what about the real alcoholic, the real addict. He may start off as a moderate drinker. Now, a moderate drinker is somebody that could take it or leave it alone. He may or may not become a continuous hard drinker. That hard user is that person who, given sufficient reason, could stop or moderate. And we can sit here and look at our lives. Did I have sufficient reason to stop? Did I have a sufficient reason to try to control the amount that I took once I started to drink or use? And did it not work? And if we're hanging out here today, probably. To be honest, probably. Like, honestly, if we're hanging out, this is probably the last resort, right? But it's pointing to that idea. If you're here today and you're like, no, Paige, you know, back when I was a teenager, I was able to take 3 drinks and get away with it. In my early 20s, I could go out and do some lines on the weekend and I would be back on Monday for work. But I look at my current experience. Is my current experience this? But at some stage of his drinking career, and listen, we made a career out of it. I was working that midnight oil. It was not a 9 to 5. I was climbing that corporate ladder. It took me right to the dumpster where I was pissing my pants behind. But, you know, like a lady, pinkies up with my crack pipe. But you know what I'm saying? I was making a job out of it. So, but at some stage of his drinking career, he begins to lose all control of his liquor consumption once he starts to drink. Is my experience that once I start, I don't know what's going to happen. Once I start, I don't know where I'm going to end up. It says, here is a fellow who has been puzzling you, especially in his lack of control. He does absurd, incredible, tragic things while drinking. Is my experience that once I pick up, I become somebody I did not want to be. And I pick up and I do things I never wanted to do. I break hearts I never wanted to break. I betray trust I never wanted to betray. I lose shoes, I lose pants, I lose relationships, I lose opportunities, I lose dignity, I lose self-respect, I lose hopes, I lose dreams, I lose who I thought I really was. And I lose and I lose and I lose. It says he is a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Well, I'll talk about that here in a minute. He is seldom mildly intoxicated. That does not mean I'm loaded 24/7, 365. But when I am drinking, when I am using, is my experience that I'm rarely mildly intoxicated. Or when I am using, is my experience that I am always more or less insanely drunk, insanely high. His disposition while drinking resembles his normal nature but little. He may be one of the finest fellows in the world, yet let him drink for a day, and he frequently becomes disgustingly and even dangerously antisocial. Do you know what it's like? I'm doing things on that spree that I would never, ever, ever do when I am sober. He is a positive genius for getting tight, and that's loaded, at exactly the wrong moment, particularly when some important decision must be made or engagement kept. Does that sound familiar? The court case will be dismissed if only I show up sober. My family will let me back in the house if only I show up sober. You guys know those things where all I have to do is show up sober. And I take a drink or a drug a day or so before and off I go. It says he's often perfectly sensible and well-balanced concerning everything except liquor and drugs. But in that respect, he's incredibly dishonest and selfish. Man, I would lie, I would do whatever it took to protect my drinking and my drugs because it was the only thing that gave me any sense of relief. Now, this is how we tie into that tornado. He uses his gifts to build a bright outlook for his family and himself. Oh, we're on page 21, and then don't you worry, we're going to pop over back to, page, we're going to be in the 70s. Can't remember the page, but I'll find it. Bright outlook for his family and himself, then pulls the structure down on his head by a senseless series of sprees. You see, I build up these structures of my life. See, I burn it to the ground, and I begin to rebuild the structures of my life. I begin to rebuild the structures of family, the structures of health, the structures of business or work, the structures of my sobriety. I begin to rebuild them. And I do that. I put down the drink, I put down the drug, and don't I say, ain't it great? The wind stopped blowing. Isn't it great the wind stopped blowing? I have stopped tearing it to the ground. But then what happens? What happens is what is inevitable for an addict of my type. You see, here's the thing, sobriety. Yes, absolutely. I build it up, burn it down. I build it up, burn it down, or blow it down if we're going to be the tornado. Either way, right? I build it up and I tear it down. And what is my problem? My problem is not that once I pick up, the wind starts blowing. My problem is as soon as I put it down, I get a thought that this time will be different, that nobody will ever know, that I'll just go out. My problem was that I can't smoke crack, but I think I can drink like a lady, or my problem is I can't drink like a lady, but I bet I can smoke crack like a lady. And again, you guys know Pinky's up behind the dumpster, yeah. And I get that thought that looks like this time will be different. Nobody will ever know. I just got to get it out of my system. I get a thought that is on me all day. Take a drink, take a drug, take a drink, take a drug, take a drink, take a drug, until what little willpower I was able to muster is inevitably eroded away. And I take that drink, I take that drug. I get a case of the suddenlies. The suddenlies, you're doing the right things. You're going to work, you're going home. You got all these things that you want to do, and suddenly you got a drink in your hand, a pipe in your mouth, a pill that you're popping, and you almost don't know how it happened. Or it looks like the F-its. F this, F that, F it. I don't care. I'm getting loaded. If you're feeling the way that I was feeling, you'd get high too. And see, my real problem, is not that once I start to drink or use, I tear the structures of my life to the ground, that I level it like a tornado. My problem is that when I get sober, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I cannot do it again. And yet I do it again. I am doomed to do it again. And that is my step one experience. And I've got to have a step one experience. That step one experience is a concession deep inside myself that I can never, ever safely drink or use again. But that's only half of it. More importantly, is that I will drink or use again. I will. That a relapse is inevitable and is imminent for somebody like me. And if all I do is I put down the drink, I put down the drugs, I have done nothing. Sobriety, and this is baffling, sobriety is not a solution for my addiction. It feels like it should. But every time I've picked up that first one, I have been as sober as I am today, but my illness has been untreated. And so what do I need to do? I need to rebuild, and I need to rebuild in a brand new way. And the direction that I need to go, the direction that I need to build is these 12 steps, is a way of life like my life depends on it, because it does. Because it does. That is what is asked of me, to rebuild. And to build a brand new foundation, a brand new spiritual structure. In fact, man, I wasn't even gonna go here. Hold on, we're popping over. Let's go to We Agnostics, and we're gonna pop into page 47, and it's gonna be the middle of the page 47. And if you've been hanging out with me a little while, you know this is step 2, part 1. It says we needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? As soon as a man can say that he does believe, or is even willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. I don't have to like it. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to comprehend it. In fact, in the 1930s, the word understand means to know through experience. At step 2, I am not going to have that experiential understanding of God at the second step. Higher power, creator, spirit of the universe. All that is asked of me is in step 2 is to believe that you guys have recovered, that a spiritual awakening could be possible. That, not me, because I don't think we're going to believe that I have better things to do. I think y'all know that, I don't. But that other people who have recovered have better things to do than hang out at a meeting and lie about their experience. That is all I need to believe. It says it has been repeatedly proven among us, so demonstrated. What we're talking about in Cocaine Anonymous is not ideas, is not theories, is not beliefs. It is experience. This whole thing is experiential. keep in mind, you guys know that, that moment when you are filled with restless, irritable discontent, where everybody is on your last nerve and you are annoyed and you just want to slam the door and you just need a bit of relief. Now imagine what I did and what I offered you was I was like, listen, let me explain the effects of alcohol. See, if you take a drink of alcohol, what happens is your liver will metabolize it and it'll create some sort of enzymes. I actually don't know, I'm making this up, which create an intoxicating effect in the mind. And if you do a line of coke or you smoke crack, what happens is how the crack is metabolized is it does this and it creates this. You'd be like, girl, shut the heck up. I need a drink. I need a hoot. I need a line. And I want to approach Cocaine Anonymous in the same way. I want to turn it into an intellectual exercise, but it isn't. It is experiential. It is not about what I think, what I know, what I believe, what I feel. It is about what happens to me as the result of these 12 steps. I got to go after it. And I got to go after it the same way I went after that next line, that next toot, that next drink, that next pill. I got to go after it. Y'all know what it's like to sit at a restaurant and somebody near you is ordering a drink, and then they order that drink and then they have a sip and they put it down and then they start talking about who the heck knows what. Get it in ya. But that's what I want to do. I come here and I want to sip the steps. I want to take my time. But if I want the effects produced by Cocaine Anonymous, just like I wanted the effects produced by cocaine, I've got to go after it. And that's what I got to do. And so that was a tangent on a tangent, y'all. So it says it has been repeatedly proven among us, proven that this is an experience, that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. What I am building upon this idea that there could be a solution. I don't have the solution. I maybe don't like the solution. I got some old ideas about what the solution could be. But I'm just believing that there could be a solution upon that cornerstone. A cornerstone is the stone upon which a building is symbolically built upon. I get to build a wonderfully effective, a new and effective structure for my life. That is what I get to build. Now, if I don't continue with the building, it doesn't get built. If all I start was that symbolic cornerstone of I believe that there could be a power greater than myself, and that is all I do, man, tornado's coming. It is coming, and whatever I try to build is gonna get knocked to the ground. You guys know in Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, and he's got his little stick shack. That's what I've been building my whole life. But I got to build something with depth and weight and substance, and that's what we do. Now, I'm going on this building metaphor. I got a whole buffalo thing to end on, and we are just all over the place. But that's how I do. Some of you are not surprised that that's what's happening. All right, so it says, let's pop over and let's have a look on bottom of page 62. What we're talking about at the bottom of page 62 is encapsulating the third step decision that I cannot do this my way anymore. I cannot play God. And what does it look like to let go, let God? What does it look like to make this third step decision? Let me tell you. It is to work these 12 steps as a way of life like my life depends on it, because it does. It says this is the how and why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. I got my pink slip, my P45 for those in the UK. I am fired from the management position of my life. You might be like, girl, that's a little unfair. My life was unmanageable. I managed it. The dumpster that is my life is on fire. Fair enough, I get my P45, y'all. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. Next, we decided that hereafter in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He is the principal. We are his agents. He is the father. We are his children. Most good ideas are simple. And this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we pass to freedom. The keystone is the stone that is in the center. This idea that I am not in charge and I'm going to let this power be in charge. And how I do that is I work these steps as a way of life like my life depends on it, because it does. That idea holds all the tension in Cocaine Anonymous. And that is a building block through what we are building here. Now let's go back to page 82 because I kind of got to try to land this plane. Got 5 minutes left. Eye on the time. Paying attention. I mean, mostly. Mostly I'm paying attention. I hope you guys are too. I'm just kidding. Because somebody should be, and we know it's not me. I'm just joking. So we talk about this. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? See, what I do is if I make that decision that I am going to work for this power, what I do is I dive into the inventory process. I write that inventory and I write it thoroughly and I write it quickly. Those two things happen together. I got to write and I got to write on a daily basis to get through it. I want to go deep and I don't want to take my time. I then share what I see with those around me. I share what I see with my sponsor, with whoever I'm doing that fifth step with. I go from there, I take a quiet hour and I become willing and I ask this power to remove and relieve from me everything which stands in the way of my usefulness to that power and the people around me. I ask this power to relieve that which I see, and I always like to ask to remove that which I don't, because there's a lot that I don't. And I ask it to take it from me. And then I go from there to make my amends. It talks about how hearts are broken, I broke them. Sweet relationships are dead, I killed them. Affections have been uprooted. I am the one who ripped the affections from the ground. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. It has been my selfish, my inconsiderate habits. And I want to say, ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? And you see, what am I most afraid of when I come to Cocaine Anonymous? Well, I'm afraid of everyone and everything. But what am I afraid of? I'm afraid of step 5, and I'm afraid of step 9. You see, where I live in the world, it's the traditional lands of the Blackfoot people. And when I was in elementary school, there was a Blackfoot elder who came and told us the story of the buffalo. And if you don't know a buffalo, they have the shaggy long hair on their head and on their shoulders, and then it gets thins out by their bum, which is the technical term. I'm a biologist. I'm not. But the reason is, in the Blackfoot culture, is when a storm comes, what happens is that the other animals, they see that storm and they run away. And as they try to outrun the storm, what that does is that prolongs the storm. And I come to Cocaine Anonymous and I come to my ninth step and I want to gazelle the heck away from my amends. I don't want to do it. I'm going to be a bunny rabbit and hide, and I don't want to do it. But what am I called to do? I am called to be the buffalo. And I am called to turn and to face that storm. And as I face that storm, and as the buffalo walks through the storm, and that's why they have the hair, because they are called to walk towards the storm, what happens is that cuts the storm in half. And when do the ninth step promises come to fruition? Before I am halfway done my amends. And I've got to go out and attack them. I want to avoid, because I'm afraid, but what will happen for me is if I dive in, and if I be the buffalo, that storm will dissipate. But it is also important for me to understand I am not solely the buffalo. I am also the storm. I am also the storm, and if I don't want to blow, if I don't want to tear it down, what I've got to do is I've got to set right my wrongs. I've got to rebuild those structures. It talks about on page 123, where, and I'll paraphrase it. It says, but the head of the house, the alcoholic, the addict, has spent many years in pulling down the structures of business, romance, friendship, and health. These things are now ruined or damaged. It will take time to clear away the wreck. It will take time, but more important than time, it will take consistency in my action. I don't want to wait with my amends. I don't want to sit on them. I want to be a demonstration. Go after them. It will take time to clear away the wreck. Though old buildings will be eventually replaced by finer ones. I don't have to live in the Eeyore shack anymore. The new structures will take years to complete. And it does not take years to make my amends. It takes years to demonstrate the change. I need to continue to demonstrate the change, and two things are possible at once. that I will have dramatic, spectacular recoveries. But I have got to spend the rest of my life helping others to rebuild their homes, their structures. And that is where my structures begin to really take place. When I continue to do this work as a way of life, I'm never done. That's what I mean when I talk about years to complete. I am never done. This is a way of life. But more than just that, I get to help others build their homes and build their structures. If you've not had this experience yet, please let us help you. It does not take long to get well. It does not take long to recover, but it will take a lot of work, and we're here to help you. So thank you for the opportunity to share.